I love terraforming in Minecraft, and forests are a huge part of that. Today, I'll show you how I built the latest forest in my world, including terrain, ground cover, and of course, the trees. So I removed the trees because I wanted to make it easier to see the elevation, and then go over why I created elevation in certain areas. The first of which is this hill here. As the path comes across this bridge, when you turn to the left, your sight is blocked and you can't see past there. I wanted to do that on purpose so that when you come around this path, when you finally get around the hill, then you can see what I want you to see, which is the bridge down there. But I wanted to make sure you had to work for the payoff, so I'll make you go all the way around the path before you get to the bridge. Similarly with these two little jutting out areas, there is a path pretty much straight down to the beach down there because I wanted you to be able to see that. But once you get down to the beach, then there's something to obscure your vision. Past here is just normal Minecraft terrain, and I don't plan on ever developing this. So I wanted to make sure that from the beach you wouldn't be able to see it. So I created that area, and then when you're down here you can't see anything. Similarly with the area to the right, if we're closer to the lighthouse, you still can't see that default Minecraft terrain. Unless you're maybe just inside the lighthouse and then it peeks out slightly. But for the most part, this obscures everything. On the other side, we have this massive wall of terrain over here I created. As you can see, when the trees aren't here, the path's really obvious, and it pretty much just goes straight all the way across there. I don't plan on making any paths out here, so this is just basically a background, and to obscure the default Minecraft terrain, which when we get to the top of this hill, just cuts off immediately. When the sausage tree's back here, it kind of just looks like this goes back down when you're on the path. But really, there's just massive overhang here, covering up all the default Minecraft ugliness. So to create this, I made various levels of cliffs, starting from the water, and then a couple smaller ones, and then one bigger one. But my whole goal is really just to raise the terrain naturally as far as I wanted to, until I thought that from the bridge it was convincing that it kind of just looked like a hill. I originally had it about halfway up, but it was obvious that there was Minecraft terrain behind it. Making it higher, it hides it much better. For most of this landmass though, I created all of it. Underneath there's lots of just open air. But it's really just a gradual slope up to the middle, and then once you get to the top, it's a gradual slope down. There's a couple areas of interest, but most of it's just a slow increase and then a slow fall down. The area here with this little connecting river is cliffs. I used a mix of stone, andesite, and light gray wool for a nice light colored cliff. I'd use darker cliffs in other places, so I wanted to change up the color a little bit. So I did that in this area, and then just continued through these blocks around all of the cliffs for this forest. So that kind of goes over the sight lines and why I created elevation in certain points. If it's all flat, it's really easy to see through the trees, but when you use actual land, it makes the forest feel a lot more dense and a lot larger because you can't see out of the forest until you're already halfway through it. If I didn't have this landmass here, as soon as I got off the bridge and turned left, I would be able to see the other bridge, maybe those geysers, that landmass over there. But by putting this hill in the way, it blocks that until you're already like 2/3 of the way through the forest. While I had the trees gone, I wanted to go over the forest floor. There's a few different parts of this. The first here are the rocks. I made these from terracotta and granite. As you can see, I only really put them near the path. This whole area over there, I didn't really bother with them because you wouldn't be able to see them much anyway. But closer to the path, they make it feel more like an actual forest. Most of these are just 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks of a mix of terracotta and granite, and then a similar number of stairs and slabs to make them a little bit rounder. I put these all over the place close to the path. There's one big one back here, but most of them are pretty small. This big one I put right at the end of this straight part of the path to block your view. As I was mentioning, the sight lines makes you walk a little bit around it before you get to see outside the forest. Otherwise, when I round this corner, I'd be able to see through this and then into the river and the other land. But by putting a rock here, it makes you feel like the forest continues on farther until you get here, and then you get to see out of the forest. Makes the forest feel larger generally. On the other side, you can see I've used some black rocks closer to the geysers. You could use any normal color stoned rocks as well, but I like the redder color of the terracotta and the granite because it was different from what I had done elsewhere in my world. Aside from that, the forest floor is a mixture of coarse dirt, rooted dirt, regular grass, and moss blocks. I put this in using World Edit, just like 25% ratio of each, roughly, across the whole area. Most forests are a mixture of both. You'll see some greenery on the ground as well as lots of tree fall, or like pine needles and stuff, which are of course more dark colored. So by putting these everywhere, I think it was good base color for the forest floor. I also added in a pond here, just as sort of a point of interest. You can see I used a different color rock. It's pretty simple. There's a little rock in the middle here, but just some lily pads, some seagrass and stuff. And then around the pond, I used some flowers that I didn't see elsewhere in the forest, like cactus flower and the alliums and some tulips, to try and make it feel a little bit more lush. Also some tall ferns. Outside of this area, the plant life is really just 4 things. It's the firefly bush, the regular bush, the fern, and short grass. I use these 4 also using World Edit, just to kind of put them across the whole area. Back in my younger days, I would have done this by hand, but I'm not playing on Pocket Edition anymore. So I've put in my time and I've earned the right to use World Edit, I think. So this was a breeze to get all in there, but if you're going to do it by hand, then yeah, it's going to take a long time. So I've added back in the trees now. We're going to build one in a second, but I just wanted to show you what the forest looks like when the trees are in place. So if you remember when I was talking earlier about the sight lines, when we're walking through, even with the trees, you can still see the water here. As we come around the corner, back there, that rock and those trees prevent the player from being able to see out of the forest. And then along here, you can see the water, as I mentioned too. This path is just a straight shot. Moving farther along, you can see in the back, it's all obstructed by the trees and the ground moving upwards, so that default Minecraft terrain over the hill is not visible at all. And then we have the pond as our kind of point of interest inside of the forest. Once you get around this big rock, then it opens up finally, and then you can see out of the forest. But by this point, we're already like 3/4 of the way through. So I kind of pushed it as much as I could to make the forest feel as big as it was for as long as I could, basically. And then when you're outside, finally on the bridge, then you can kind of see the back wall, as I call it. Yeah, so we'll build one of these trees now. I copied I have 5 different designs here. I copied them all over the forest, one by one. And yeah, so we have a variation of height. I think we'll build another medium tree here. But yeah, a couple smaller ones, a couple bigger ones, and then one in the middle. So I made these with just 3 blocks, acacia wood, tough wall, and then azalea leaves. At some point, the acacia wood base transitions to just the walls about here, and from there on up, it's just the walls. And of course, at the bottom, we have a thicker base. So we'll build a new one somewhere over here. And then I'll do the, trunk first. And we'll make sure it's on the same level, and then we'll bring it up to a similar height. I think it was, that one there is the first tough wall. So go up about this high, and then that seems like a fairly similar height. So we'll come around and do the base at the end, but for the leaves, looking at the other trees, you can kind of see I made rings every other block. So for example, this one is pretty dense, and then we go up one more block, and then it becomes a little more sparse, and then dense, and then sparse, and dense, and sparse all the way up. So if we start at similar heights, say like that one, I think that's the same. I brought these out kind of in this shape, all the way around. So we can go like that, and I'll fill it in afterwards. It looks a little smaller. I'm gonna go with 3 blocks. So something like this. And then I made a bunch of these rings every other block, and they slowly and gradually got smaller. So maybe this one will make it just 2 blocks on each side as a ring. And then we'll do that same shape 1 block farther up. And the next one maybe slightly different, kind of the same overall width, but less of a circle. And then maybe just like a square on this one. And then at the top, we'll usually stick them out a couple blocks up here. And I'll just do something like that for now. So now that we have them every other block, basically what I do is I take out some of the blocks from these rings, and then I add in some in between. And this is pretty much random. You can go kind of slowly, just putting 1 block in and see if it looks better or not. You can also add some below, not that one, some blocks below. It's a tedious way to do it, but once you have a couple trees, you can copy them around the world. And you already did all the hard work. You only need to build a couple of them. At least that's what I did. I guess depending on what type of Minecraft you have. So do something like that, maybe go in there, and take out some of those ones. It's my first pass. I'll probably go back and make some changes. But that was kind of the rough guideline to how I was building the other 5 trees. Maybe just break that one or something. Yeah, it doesn't look as good so far for sure. I think we'll add in the base. That'll help a little bit. I usually just put a couple of blocks, like a 2 and then a 1, and then I'll fill it in with some walls to make it look a little bit larger. Something like that seems alright. Maybe one there or something. Yeah, this line on the side is too firm, so I think I might actually go with something like that. It's okay. Maybe that one too. Yeah, that's okay. And then one of these blocks needs to be in, and then maybe I'll get rid of that one or something. And this one seems a little too much like that. Oops. Yeah, it's pretty tedious. You just gotta go back and forth. And then, of course, I'm just looking at it from this way, but if you go this way, then we might notice some other issues, like this one seems a little bit too straight. And I'll push that out a little bit, and maybe bring that one up. But yeah, you just kind of got to look at it from all 4 sides, and just put 1 or 2 blocks and then take a step back, 1 or 2 blocks, take a step back. It takes some time, but I can refine this one a little bit more, and then hopefully it'll look like these ones. It's not too bad so far. That's a pretty good tree. But yeah, that's how I make it. Only 3 different blocks, and then I just copy them all around the world to make up the forest. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful. I have another video on the area across the river with the geysers you might have seen during this video. Check that out as well, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.